I'm not anticipating creating any more deep, meaningful content over the winter period now. My latest books will be released in springtime, and that's when I'll be really focused on creativity. But there's something that's come up just today, and I thought, I'm going to talk about it. I wasn't going to do any more videos, but this one just piqued a curiosity. And I think sometimes, I think when people are in situations, they don't see things so clearly, and they sort of put the wool over their eyes, and they go into this self-righteous moment where the ego just consumes them, and it just sends them down a rabbit hole of absolute nonsense. So, well, I'll talk about that. But over the next few months, I'll still be creating content, but it's going to be gaming related and probably on different profiles. Because I do have gaming channels. For instance, I've got a gaming YouTube channel. Depends on what I create. It still may be on YouTube, but on TikTok, for instance, I also have a gaming profile, and it'll probably be there. Just to allow people to know that. But no, yeah, something happened recently, and it's like I just think what it is, people get so attached to their jobs, it becomes part of their identity. And I find that quite a dangerous thing because when people feel slanted, like they weren't given enough respect or taken for granted, and when they leave a position, especially after a long period of time, they feel deserving of recognition, and maybe rightly so, but what does it actually do for you? What is the point? And I talk about this all the time. You just don't need recognition from people. It's just like create, move on. So contribute, move on. Just live your life. It's literally beat to your own drum and live your life on your terms. You don't have to wait for people's reactions. It's actually meaningless in some regards, you know? You know yourself whether you've done a good job at something, whether you're proud of you. You don't need someone to give their approval to make you feel proud. And that's where really the problem comes. So I was talking to a family member, and they were telling me about someone they know. They spent a long time at a job, and they left last year. And like for instance, my mum's retiring soon, so it's getting to the point where she's going to have people say goodbye, and it's going to be um, maybe a nice situation where it's appreciated. But maybe the other person didn't have that. But anyway, when you look at it, you just think, first of all, what's the point? What's the point of continuing to harper on about the past, for starters? Second of all, people come and go, so the people you work with may not be there anymore. So the situation is that the person wants to be recognized. They want to have that where they come in and people say a proper send off. And in some ways you get it, but in some other ways it's like that's just your ego speaking. Effectively, I think people stay in their own bubble. That weird. They just stay in their own head. They don't have an outward perspective of things. I consider every avenue. It just like flashes into my mind. Just straight away, I just see it. It's like boom. So as soon as they said that, I just thought, wait a minute. So you can have a load of people just stand there pretending to clap because they've been instructed to do so, or for you to feel special that day. It's like, really? What's the point? If people are not genuinely doing it, why would you want them to stand there and be fake? Um, Likewise, if there was a meal or anything that's been forced upon, it's not natural. And why do you need people to behave a certain way for you to feel special anyway? You should feel special within yourself. I get it. I get on one hand, maybe some people get great send offs, other people just get forgotten. Maybe someone's disrespectful. I get it. But at the same time, it's like if you've ended a chapter, just go gracefully to the end. It's like continue on to the next phase. That's how I behave. So, yeah, it'd be nice if people respected what you do. But at the same time, does it change who I am and what I do? No, it doesn't. So, what difference does it make? I've left plenty of jobs. I have no idea how they get on when I'm not there. Do you know what I mean? But I don't really sit here thinking about it. We all leave situations. How do we know how it is when we've left? Maybe people did miss you. Maybe they didn't. Maybe we think we're better than we are and we had more of an impact than we do. And maybe they get on just fine. But then maybe they do feel you've gone. But either way, you've gone. So it's kind of like surely it makes more sense just to get on with your life onto the next chapters and not dwell so heavily on it, because it makes no difference if you've closed a chapter. Even if you maybe regret it or don't regret it, again, it's all irrelevant. All of it is irrelevant. You're not going to change something that's happened, so it's happened. Obviously, if you're going to have if it turns out you're going to have regrets, that maybe think about it a bit ahead of time. I'm not someone that lives with regrets, because if I decide an action, there's a reason for that action, and even if life gets hard after, I recognise that if I didn't feel called to or I didn't feel compelled, I wouldn't have done it, would I? So even if you forget the reasons, it's like I still know the feeling. I don't like feeling trapped, and I don't like being disrespected, so I take action in my own life. So yeah, so the reality is, whether people, for instance, if I leave a situation, whether people miss me or don't miss me, it doesn't change my perspective of myself or the thought process in why I do what I do or validate beyond what I did. So like, I mean, people are weird like that because I know they are because I witness them. Even my daughter said something recently, and it was quite compelling. It was like we play video game like Fortnite and things, and it was like she has that mindset where a lot of people do. It's kind of like, if they're suffering at something, they want you to suffer too. And it gives them peace that they're not suffering alone and that you're feeling what they're feeling. She's young, she's gonna understand and grow beyond that. And she understands anyway, but people are still petulant. I never have that. I don't need people to suffer because I suffer. I don't need any of that. It doesn't change anything. So like I say, if I left a job, maybe some people have their ego stroked and they love the idea that maybe people will miss them. But it doesn't make me any different to a situation whether someone does or doesn't. It doesn't. I don't. It doesn't make me feel less valued if they don't. Life moves forward. We all witness it ourselves. When people come and go, we adapt. So if I can adapt to change, then that means other people can. So it's not the end of the world as much as people perceive. But yeah, go back to really what my daughter said there. It's kind of like, you've got to understand that other suffering, it doesn't replace anything. It's just continuing a pattern. So you shouldn't need someone to suffer for you to feel okay about a situation or for it to make it comfortable. It's just, we don't need to behave like that. And, a lot of what I create really is to open people's eyes to things, and then maybe we can cancel the patterns of trauma really and negativity, and start to focus on self, but in a positive way. Then we uplift ourselves and we can inspire others along the way. And of course, then the world changes because people just start to become more self-empowered and less like victim, and less feeling like they have to take that out on someone else or for someone else to feel bad for you to feel good. It's just like, that doesn't make sense to me. Never has. So, my way of thinking, of course, is different to others. And some people just say, I'm out of touch and he doesn't know what he's talking about and he doesn't understand. It's like, I fully understand, but it doesn't resolve a situation. That's the problem. The amount of, you can have so much misery around you. It still doesn't resolve a situation though, because either way, you're in the situation you're in, regardless of the external factors. You're still in it. So if whether everyone, I talk about this a lot. And this is where I get fed up with jealousy. When people are jealous, it drives me mad. It drives me absolutely mad because it's a focus of others rather than self. For instance, I'm going to put it in this perspective. Whether I'm poor or wealthy, people around me, it shouldn't affect them one way or another. So if you look on and think, oh, he's struggling, I feel better about my life because at least I'm not struggling as bad as them. Okay, so that means you're living a life in comparison rather than living in your own bubble and really focusing on your own self. Because if you focus on yourself, you understand where you're at on your journey, what you want to achieve, what you could improve. But it's all about your journey, which is how I live my life. I don't watch other people comparing. I hope everybody does well, in all honesty. I don't wish bad on anyone because it doesn't affect me one way or another. So I'd just rather everybody was happy. It's a better way of being, isn't it, when a society's good rather than bad? Um, just so like I say, that it might make people feel more comfortable knowing I'm struggling because it doesn't make them feel as bad. They don't feel as low. It's relatable. They maybe, let's say I was wealthy, maybe they then feel insecure because now maybe you're living a life that they could only dream of, and they're not making the steps to sort of get to some sort of accomplishment on a similar level, or maybe they don't have a skill set that can get them there. But again, it's forgoing their own journey for an obsession to someone else's path. It makes no sense. Life isn't governed by fame, recognition, and wealth. That's part of a journey and it can enhance our life. But you can also have an incredibly wonderful life with very little, because at the end of the day, the biggest blessing and the biggest gift we could have on this planet is love. And guess what? Love is priceless. It doesn't cost anything. All you need is love around you. But it really starts with a fundamental love of self. If I don't love myself purely and wholeheartedly, I can't truly love someone. I can feel a love for them and hope and nurture and hope they do good, but you wouldn't have a deep connection to them or understand. But when you truly love yourself, you don't have to then project onto others. Those insecurities fade. And also, when you love yourself, you do understand the flaws and all. So you do understand less insecurities. So you can, I think you can actually be far more, when you actually got a complete relation to yourself, I think you can truly understand other people, and it's less being critical of them, understanding life is a healing journey, and it can actually be quite beautiful. There's so many connotations, of course, but the main thing is, it's like seeking recognition from others is really just not understanding life itself, and you're so far from who you are that you're trying to seek that validation from others when you should be seeking it from yourself. If you're seeking it from yourself, you don't need to worry about these things. But instead, you end up running amok and start getting in huge arguments because someone disrespected you, and it's like, who cares? You know, a few years ago, I would have been pissed when someone disrespectful, but now I don't really care because it's just a projection of them rather than me. If I'm mirroring something back to them and they really don't like it and it gets triggering for them, it's like you're going to have to process that because it doesn't change who I am or what I'm thinking or how I'm behaving or what I'm striving for. So it's all a reflection of them rather than me. So I'm like, cool as a cucumber. You know, my daughter's getting quite profound as well, like in a thought process, and I love it because she's learning, you know, adapting, and she's figuring things out too for herself. Even at school, like if you're struggling, she's like, we was having a little joke. Of course, we go a bit further than maybe is reality, but we'll take it. We'll take it. And I was joking with her yesterday, and she goes, "What? Right?" Like, let's say she didn't pass a test and she has to do it again. I'm like, well, maybe you weren't supposed to pass the test this time. Maybe there was a lesson in the failure, because through failures and struggles, of course, we learn to be resolute, and there's usually something to learn in adversity. And she's like, right, that's what I said. If I didn't pass it, I weren't supposed to pass it. And then she said, a friend said to her something similar. I can't say it verbatim because I'm trying to remember. It was something like, if you studied harder, you'd pass. You'd have passed the test. And then she said the sort of things I think of too. If I was supposed to study harder, I would have studied harder. Because I didn't study harder, I weren't supposed to. I'm like, right? You know, because life isn't perfect and we have things happen as they're supposed to. Of course, sometimes we can be lazy and we make an excuse for this and that. But fundamentally, we're where we're supposed to be. On our path, in situations we find ourselves, we're effectively where we're supposed to be. There's learning in everything. Sometimes it's learning to be less controlling and more in the receiving. So things that have to come to you and your life changes when you stop trying to control it. There's so many aspects, of course, but once you start to understand yourself and your purpose in life, it's things become less of a confrontation. You don't have to get so reactive to things, you know. Something as simple as a video game. I was talking to her yesterday because we play Fortnite. A good few years ago, we'd both been going mental. If you lose, you'd go mental. But with time and things, you heal, you know. And even I used to say to her, like, to be honest, we got another match straight after. Does it really matter if we win or lose? The main thing is we had fun. Now, you could say it's a loser's mentality, but we actually do win some matches and we come really high up in the rankings. Like in a match, might come second, third, fourth, somewhere near the top. Not always. Sometimes you get a fluke one where you did bad and so, or you got to come across a really good player early on. You know, it happens. It's a game. But overall, it doesn't matter what game you play. The whole premise is to have fun. It's supposed to be entertainment. I think once you lose the joy, it's no longer entertaining, which means maybe you shouldn't be doing it anymore. So when people get really angry and they lose their mind, it's kind of like you've lost sight of really why you're doing it. You've become over competitive to the point where now it's ruined the fun. But it's up to you, to each their own. But people see that through my reactions. If you see my videos, for instance, when I lose in games, I don't go mental anymore. It's not in me to do that. It's like, okay, I lost. Sometimes you still get a bit annoyed, but not to the same extent in the past. And again, that's just understanding, like, from a positive mindset. It's understanding things, isn't it? That, you know, it's a game. I'm just chilling out. I'm just playing to have fun. It's a different premise, really, to say I have to play to absolutely annihilate and win. I'm not obsessed. With me, I play all sorts of different games, so I don't have the time or energy or focus to really hone in on one game and become the master at it because I've got too much else to play. So someone may play just one game, annihilate the life out of it, and then maybe they make you look silly. And it's like, I'm just chilling out. I'm just having fun. Yeah, you do you, I do me. But you know, to get back on point, really, it's you don't need a send off. You don't need people to give you a pat on the back. You don't even need people to respect you. In some ways, you don't even need to be remembered. I think if we've got an insecurity of being remembered and forgotten, I think it's something to work on. You know, it's about coming here, have this human experience, make the most of life. I keep talking about it. For me, the purpose of life is to evolve our soul from beyond when we started. So you elevate, don't regress, don't go backwards, don't get caught up in the temptations, the greed, the materialism. It's okay to have some material things and seek a wonderful life, but don't lose it entirely. And like I said, you get these gaming addictions where people just lose their mind when they lose. They end up arguing and getting mental. They push away relationships. They end up alone, and it's like, was that worth it? You got caught up in the greed. If you'd let it go and maybe just made it more relaxing, and you integrated it into your life in a more balanced way, and you showed respect and love to those that love you, you wouldn't lose them, and you can have a wonderful life. But effectively, we all have lessons to learn, but sadly, some people just never learn it. And that's really why I create these videos, to just open people's minds. It's not to say, oh, this is the right way entirely, and you don't understand yourself. We all understand ourselves to a degree, but some people more than others. And sometimes I think people need to hear harsh truths, maybe learn a lot of harsh lessons too. But if I can help one person just change and alter their path, and it realigns them towards a better future, then I think me creating these videos is beneficial and helpful to those people that need the content. Like I say, as soon as I heard about this situation regarding someone leaving a job and then really remonstrating to be respected upon their leaving, I just thought that's mad. That was actually crazy to me. I just thought, what on earth is that? Like, I understand the feeling slanted by it, but I was like, it's meaningless though, isn't it? Who cares? It's so pointless. If you need that validation, then maybe you've got to consider that maybe you shouldn't have left them because you weren't ready. If you've got such an attachment to a place or a situation, you're not ready to leave it behind, are you? Again, so many connotations. Don't want to go too far. I don't want to make this a really long-winded video. It's one of my shorter ones, actually, compared to what I normally do. Um, it's really because I'm tired. I am exhausted creating this content on a regular basis. I've been doing it so many. I used to pump out like 4 or 5 videos a day. It was relentless. And it's like, it's caught up with me to an extent. I want to learn, because finding balance in anything we do is hard, and I just want to enjoy myself more now, even just silly vices like movies, video games, little things, really. I don't want to be too creative right now, um, just because I'm tired. And like I say, if I can help people, I will still pop up if something really, really crosses my mind. I'm like, oh, I've got to talk about that. But overall, I got to replenish my energy. Hopefully some of what I said makes some sense to people, because I haven't heard it back. So I can only hope that it was articulated in the way it was meant, and it's received in the way it was meant to be received. Really, because like I said, I recognize some people read off sheets and all sorts of shit. I speak from the heart. I speak from my mind. I don't make notes. I just go off the cusp and let's talk about it, because I think that's the best way to be. It's like, there's a topic at hand. Let's just think about it and let's talk about it, and let's bring it to light. There's nothing wrong with, of course, making notes and writing a script if it helps people stay on point and centered. But I think you lose a bit of the element, really, of just going into it deeply in the moment. But yeah, like I said, I'm tired. I've had a few restless nights, to be honest, when I'm just staying up so late. It's crazy, and it's catching up with me. Again, things for me to work on. No one's perfect. That's the thing. No one's perfect. We all have traumas. I see things from different perspectives, and I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I think I can see things from a positive mindset. Really, the processes, the potential outcomes, why we do what we do, all these little things. But I still have my traumas to bear. I still have life without my daughter home, even though we do talk very often, and sometimes we have long video chats together, like really long, like all day. Sometimes we'll play video games. There'll be periods where we don't play anything for a month or two, and then maybe there's a few weeks or a month where we just go mental together, just playing like crazy. That's nice. But I'm missing other aspects. My finances are terrible. Life's hard. I feel like I'm stagnating in career. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I don't give up on the dream and doing what I feel called to do, hence this video. But in terms of ways for me to make an income, it's hard for me because I can't keep going back to the things I did because it's messing up my back and physical issues, because it was physical jobs. But I won't forego my principles because they're everything to me. So integrity and authenticity for me is my absolute. I won't play with it. So you won't see me trying to artificially sell items or something, or trying to promote things, trying to get money out of people. You won't see me going, look, I'm struggling today. Could anyone send me some money for a GoFundMe or a PayPal? You don't see me doing none of that shit. I'll just suck it up. I'd rather just give to inspire people and trying to help uplift their lives. And I'll figure mine out as I go. That's how I am. But yeah, so there's a frustration there that you want to make money doing what you do, but it's not always as easy as that. And I'm transparent enough to show people this side of it. I do anticipate being on a successful side in the future, or hopefully the near future. Don't want it always to be a million miles in the future. But by me being transparent now, I think it shows the way for others who maybe cross a similar path in the future. That's important. Likewise, I don't have the romance, but it's not something I rush. I don't want to be with someone who's chaotic, and then we have to have a bitter separation, and we go through another whirlwind of nonsense, and we're just destroying each other, and it's just an emotional wreck. Who wants that nightmare? So we can feel alone, but we also it's also an awareness that even with but with the wrong person, you could feel even more alone and burdened by it, and it literally can destroy you for long periods while you heal from that situation. So who wants that? Now, you can't guarantee when you step into love that you won't encounter that because nothing's for granted. You can't take anything for granted. But I think on another topic, without going too far, communication is key when it comes to love and romance. I think it's the best way you can be because by being transparent, you sort of there's no grey areas. You do both understanding each other. If there's a respect and you can continue, then great. If you can't, then I think it's better to come to a natural conclusion early on that you separate and go in your own paths. Because it's important that people don't try and mold you into what they want you to be, but can you accept them for who they are? That's really what it comes down to. And if you can't, either party can't, then it's just have to be respectfully just pass. Say, okay, this is who I am. You either love me for it or you don't love me for it. I'm not asking someone to love an artificial version of me because what does that do it for anybody? Nothing. So anyway, there's aspects of my life that certainly need I wouldn't say healing. I think they just need to evolve now and move forward. And, with time, those things can happen. My daughter can be home, like, living a free life. She could be just really happy. And then a situation with finances, maybe the career takes off. You're doing what you love. You're making money for it. You're no longer worrying about money, but also inspired to continue creating. And everything's just going beautifully where you're blessed. That'd be nice. Also, you could have love in your life and you've got romance and things are just picking up. And maybe one day you get married. That'd be a nice pinnacle of it. Maybe now you're traveling and doing things. So life doesn't always stay at the bottom, but bloody hell, it gets heavy down there, doesn't it? Hopefully this has been some way helpful to people. Like I say, I wasn't going to create any more videos, but like I say, I wanted to touch upon a very specific topic. I know I've got slightly, well, as I do sometimes, go off topic, but hopefully the off topic was useful too.